Over to X to find out the breaking news. So first and foremost, Tim Draper now predicts Bitcoin will replace the dollar within 10 years. Let's take a listen.
We think that we will no longer have U.S. dollar dominance over the long period, but that's over a long period of time.
A ballpark estimate of how, when Bitcoin will replace the U.S. dollar?
10 years, something like that. It may be a little less because there will be a moment. I mean, the good news here is that banks can now hold your Bitcoin and your fiat currency. And so if you desperately, you're in you see it on social media, hey, we got to get rid of our dollars, we got to buy Bitcoin. You can do it pretty quickly online, but you don't want to be, in line at the banks trying to get your dollars out to put them into Bitcoin when there is a transformation. I mean, I think stable coins are going to be a nice bridge to Bitcoin. But at some point, people are going to say, why are we, having governments? Whenever there's sort of trust in government, then great. Then, everybody feels.
We just launched Altcoin Pro University, where our research team gives you real-time altcoin picks with explosive potential for this bull run, along with 100+ expert curated classes crafted by industry experts to discover these gems yourself, on top of our live weekly calls every single week for in-depth crypto market analysis and daily updates. And that's just a fraction of what we offer inside of Altcoin Pro University. Just go through the link in the description below. Get in right now.
Interesting statement there from Tim Draper. The thing that I wonder about, though, is if, let's say that United States is the first mover into Bitcoin and all of our companies are going there, as you can see with MicroStrategy and many others. What if there was a country out there that was anti-American and had a lot of Bitcoin, and then they just went and dumped it on the open market? It would have severe catastrophic effects, like a black swan event on the crypto markets, but then also on the stock markets after that, because now a lot of our stocks and a lot of our corporations are doing Bitcoin treasury. So let me know, have you contemplated that at all? I've been contemplating that a lot lately, because obviously there's craziness going on in the world with the war with Iran and Israel and Russia and China starting to get involved in these things. Could a country secretly nuke the entire market just by selling all of the coins that they have? I think yes. Let me know your opinion down below. All right. And today, unfortunately, we expect to see higher inflation readings over the summer. So Powell, again, going against the grain. Everybody, I'm talking literally everybody, not just Trump's administration, but everybody in finance continues to say that inflation has cooled and we should be reducing rates. But as we know, Jerome Powell hates Donald Trump and he continues to come out and fight against him. So as we can see here, we expect to see higher inflation readings over the summer. That is why we're not getting these reductions. Now, there was some good news. Looks like the federal funds rate will start to come down before September, but only time will tell. And the other interesting thing is the interest rates are adjustable. So if they were to lower the interest rates, inflation does kick in during the summer. Well, guess what? You can then re-raise the rates. So this makes no sense on what's going on here. So also in some really bad news out there for quite a few people, unfortunately, Linqto, there's an update. They are filing their bankruptcy in the coming days. Expected consumers will likely be transformed into unsecured creditors who will have to wait in line to get paid. So Crypto Eerie goes on here, from boiler room sales tactics to selling to consumers in Iran and North Korea. There are many more violations in between. This is guerrilla warfare. Take no prisoners. Throw everything we have at the one targeted date. Influencers, marketing, ads, social calls, and smoke signals. Email from Bill Saris on January 5th, 2023. Now, we never did any research or advertising or anything like that into Linqto, but this is crazy because a lot of people who support Ripple, they were selling a potential Ripple IPO. So to recap on some of the highlights of the article, Linqto founder Bill Saris was trying to unload shares of Ripple to Linqto's 11,000 users at a price 60% higher than he paid. The SEC generally prohibits markups above 10%, but Saris pushed ahead, not disclosing the hike to the customers, and pocketed $2 million This looks to be securities fraud. The SEC and the DOJ are also investigating whether Soros improperly sold additional 16,000 shares of Ripple without permission. Linqto's own lawyers were also sending warning signals in an 8-page memo. They worried that its tactics were potentially illegal and outlined roughly a dozen recommended chart changes, including no longer allowing its customers to self-certify that they were accredited and avoiding any possible exposure to severe civil or even criminal penalties, according to the memo. Also, President Trump says failure to pass the One Big Beautiful Bill will result in a whopping 68% tax increase, the largest in history. So we know Trump is going full charge for the Big Beautiful Bill. His plan is to counter inflation and also the debt ceiling by outgrowing it. So his plan is to revive the economy to such a level that it just starts to flourish and the flywheel momentum builds out so much that the debt ceiling never gets touched because of GDP or growth for the country. Also, in important news for you guys, the Supreme Court rejects Coinbase's request to block IRS from accessing user data. So if you're not familiar, IRS can go into Coinbase and get your data into your crypto transactions that you've been doing for many, many years. Now, it's kind of funny and kind of jokey here because Income Shark said, don't worry, Coinbase has already leaked out everyone's data anyway. As you know, Coinbase did have that massive leak that shared out a lot of people's private information. Not everybody's private information, but the rumors are true and the conspiracy theorists were right. The IRS is tracking your information and your spending habits and your crypto information on Coinbase. Now, Coinbase's legal team did come out. Paul Grewal, chief legal officer for Coinbase, came out and said, someday we will wake up to the truth that expectations of privacy do not disappear when personal information is entrusted to a third party. Just not today. We will continue to fight. Now, to give it to Coinbase, at least on the face of it, it looks like they have been trying to battle back against the IRS. But unfortunately, the Supreme Court is backing the IRS on this situation, which is weird because the IRS is just a debt collecting agency for the Federal Reserve, which is also not a United States government agency. So kind of strange there. Now, as we know, the Jerome Powell war has continued on, and Geiger Capital actually posted the handwritten letter that Trump sent to Jerome Powell. He's not happy. So he says, Jerome, you are, as usual, too late. You have cost the United States a fortune and continue to do so. You should lower the rate by a lot. Hundreds of billions of dollars is being lost. No inflation. Signed, Donald Trump. And he says we should be here, right? So it says should be here. And he noted where we should be at 0.25 to 1.75. Right now, he's got us highlighted in the yellow zone. So unfortunately, our interest rates by the Federal Reserve are coming in at the same as Cameroon, New Guinea, Gabon, Guatemala, Israel, Mauritius, Norway, Republic of Congo, and Vietnam. All right, for you XRP fans, the biggest news that I'm really excited to share with you guys today, XRPL EVM sidechain launches on mainnet, adding Ethereum-compatible smart contracts and faster, cheaper transactions to XRP Ledger ecosystem. And this is a big deal, and here's why in simple terms. Until now, XRPL was super fast and cheap for payments, but it couldn't run the same kind of smart contracts or apps as Ethereum. This sidechain changes that. Unless developers build Ethereum-style apps like DeFi platforms, lending protocols, and tokenized assets right on XRPL using XRP as the gas token. So why does this matter? Well, it's like giving XRP a turbo boost. This sidechain can handle 1,000 transactions per second with blocks finalizing in just 3 to 4 seconds and fees as low as a fraction of a cent. Compare that to Ethereum's high cost and slower speeds, and you see why this is huge. Plus, it's connected to over 80 blockchain through XLR's bridge, so XRP can now play in the multi-chain world. For investors, this could drive demand for XRP, especially with over 6 million XRPL wallets ready to jump in. Posts on X have been buzzing about this, with some calling it an interoperability game changer for DeFi and real-world assets. So keep your eye on the XRP price because this is massive. And we did see a pretty huge surge yesterday, cooling off already. but we want to see this continue to push past the $2.20 range to the upside. And just in as well, Treasury Secretary FinCEN says that they are working to select the Fed Chair Powell's replacement in the coming weeks. So when we go back to that handwritten letter from Trump, he reportedly urged Powell to keep interest rates low, saying it's critical for economic growth, and crypto markets are reading between the lines, of course. So low interest rates often mean more money flowing into riskier assets like crypto, boosting the prices, which is, of course, what we want to see. Crypto definitely thrives when money is cheap. Think back to the COVID experience when all of our interest rates were extremely low. So if Powell listens, that's a big if, it could spark a rally across the markets. Either way, it's a reminder that macro events like Fed policy can move crypto pieces fast. No hard evidence ties this note directly to policy shift yet, so take it with a grain of salt, but it's got traders talking for sure. And Scott FinCEN, on top of the talks of Jerome Powell, he says this is the start of addressing the debt, and he's talking about raising the debt ceiling. So if the start is adding $5 trillion, can we actually wait for the end?